Joining us now with more on election and the potential market impacts. Sarah Bianchi, Evercore ISI, chief strategist of international political affairs and public policy. Just looking at your notes, I guess are from yesterday, Sarah. It's so many cross currents. I'm having trouble drawing any conclusions, and some of the cross currents almost seem mutually exclusive. Do you know anything more this morning? 3-3 in Dixville Notch. Have you changed any of your calculus based on that?
I don't think I'm going to make too many changes based on Dixville Knox, but you're right. This election is just too close to call. I think, look, the Harris campaign feels really good about the week they had to close this out. They think that undecided voters are swinging their way in disproportionate numbers, but President Trump's team feels good about the early vote. And in my home state of Georgia, rural counties were out very, very strong in the early vote in ways we haven't seen. North Carolina, Nevada, same story. So I think this one just may be too close to call at this point.
Yeah, those were the numbers that I was talking about. You had something for both campaigns there. But when you say something like it could be that Dems can't make up the numbers in some states, and then you put two states, one of which seems like if you win it, someone said yesterday, who's going to win Pennsylvania? And and Jay Clayton said the next president is the one who will win Pennsylvania. Yeah. So you're saying that early voting that appeared to be, how do you know, it was very heavy, but how do you know it favored Republicans in Pennsylvania and North Carolina?
Well, in Pennsylvania, it looked like the party margin was about 400,000 plus Democrat. That's a lot for Democrats to make up on Election Day. Again, I haven't seen the final. We won't get that till this morning. Now, some Democrats will say, well, there was a lot of independent in that vote, and we got some of that, too. So a lot of spinning going around. I think the challenge is, honestly, we don't have a lot of precedent for this kind of early voting. We had a lot of early voting in 2020, but it was a pandemic, and we had then President Trump telling his people not to do it. So yes, Republicans have looked very, very strong, relatively speaking, in the early vote, but I think it's anybody's guess as to whether those are high propensity voters who were going to vote anyway on Election Day, or whether they're grabbing new people. So. I honestly think the data is just not going to tell us very much, unfortunately. I do agree that whoever wins Pennsylvania will win this election, and that is why you saw volunteers swarming the state doing door knocking this weekend. I heard one report that there was a point at which Democrats were doing 2,000 door knocks a minute. So to the degree you believe that stuff can get you over the finish line, we'll see. Yeah,
Sarah, in 2020, I think the polls had Wisconsin, had Biden up 17, and he won by 1. In 2016, the betting markets had 90% plus Hillary Clinton will be the winner. So we know how polls and betting markets work. Neither one of them work.
They don't work.
I know. You point out this was never a 65% race. That's where some of the betting markets were last week. It narrowed all the way to a 50-50 on Friday. Now it's back to 62-37. Trump. What's happening? What is that? People that really are waging large bets because they believe someone's going to win? Are they trying to make it look like someone's going to win, or are there signs? I mean, in a couple of hours, there will be exit polling numbers, so we can explain moves at that point that people are surmising certain, and usually that data may or may not hold up by the end of the day, by the actual end of the day. But what happened this time? And DJT's back up. I mean, what are people seeing?
Yeah, you're right. Look, the betting market was very, very high. We thought it was a little bit overextended. I'm not sure we totally know yet what was going on there, whether there were some big bets or not driving it. We have a study that shows stocks that moved during the three big election events of the year, the Trump assassination attempt, the Biden-Trump debate, and the Trump-Harris debate. That basket started to move up a little bit yesterday with the financial strengthening and financials weakening a little bit in clean energy stocks. A strengthening. But you're right. Look, the polls haven't been right. It's been very, very hard to poll the Trump voter. We don't know. Look, if the Trump voter shows up historically beyond what they did in their polls, he's going to be the next president of the United States. If women come out, I'll tell you the thing I'll be watching in the exit polls, the most important number is what percent of the vote is women. Traditionally, it's 52%. If it's 53, 54, 55, that's very, very bullish for Harris. This is a huge gender gap. But look, I think the messaging is all over the place. This race may not end up being close, but it is certainly too close to call.
Right, and that's so bizarre that it's either going to be really close or one or the other side is going to have a blowout. We're still admitting there. If it was like a distribution, like a continuum, all the possibilities are there for a certain percentage. I saw the Harris camp say we still think we can win all seven states. We think that that's still a possibility. I've seen people on the Trump side say, oh, yeah, it looks like all seven. So both sides are still claiming they could win every swing state.
Well, that might be a little bit of spin. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I think Trump looks pretty strong in Arizona. I think Harris looks pretty strong in Michigan. I don't think it's going to go 7 for 7, but I don't have a huge theory of the case about who's going to get to 270.